New videos every day.
Well, we received an email from someone wanting to know, where does the G and G string come from? Well, I'm about to tell you. So not only am I going to tell you about where the G and G string came from, I'm going to give you the history of it and some interesting facts on the G string. So many people think that the G string is a relatively new thing, but in actuality, it was one of the first articles of clothing worn 75,000 years ago in Africa. The word G-string was first used in the 1800s and referred to the loincloth that the first American Indians wore. So they would wear a loincloth held up by a string made up of dried up animal intestine. And this was called the G-string, but it wasn't G-string, it was actually G-E-E string. The modern day G-string that we see today was actually worn in the early 1900s only by strippers. In fact, the 1950s pinup model Betty Page had to make her own G-string because they weren't yet commercially available in the 1950s. So no one actually knows where the word G comes from in G-string, but there's a lot of theories out there, so let me give you a couple. So one of the theories is the American Indians wore a string that was made up of animal gut, so G starts with gut. And another theory is if you hold up a G-string and you look down on it, it's got a wedge on one side and it kind of circles, so it kind of looks like a G. And another theory is the thickest string on a violin happens to be the G-string. So that was compared to the string that was worn around the American Indians. So the best explanation for G is it stands for groin, which makes it a groin string. Instead of calling it groin string, in the 1800s, the word groin was a little taboo, so they decided to call it G-string. It's kind of like if I wanted to say the F word, instead of saying the F word, I would say F word. So instead of calling it the groin string, we call it the G-string. And now, interesting G-string facts. 28% of American women prefer wearing a G-string over any other form of underwear. One of the reasons many American women like to wear G-strings is you don't have that unsightly panty lines under your clothes. Another reason is you don't get that embarrassing wedgie in public that you have to constantly adjust. And one of the most important reasons is when you wear a G-string bikini, you don't get those unsightly tan lines. G-strings are actually really controversial. They've actually been banned by some schools and universities. In 2002, a school in San Diego actually had a female vice principal check every single girl's dress that was coming into a school dance, with or without their consent. So this obviously caused a huge uproar among the students and the parents, and the vice principal was put under investigation for her conduct. But in the vice principal's defense, I will quote her. She says, the checks were for student safety and not specifically because of the wearing of thongs. This was a safety issue. It was not a choice of underwear itself. Now, if this had been a male vice principal, I might kind of get it because, well, he could have just been a perv. But because it's a female vice principal, I just don't get that. In Spanish and Portuguese, the word they use for G-string actually translates into dental floss. In Israel, the term G-string translates into string. Now, in Turkish, the word G-string translates into stringed underwear. Now, in Bulgarian, the word G-string actually translates to a slingshot. So recently, doctors have been concerned about the health and safety issues of wearing a G-string. Gynecologists have recently seen an increase of infection in women for wearing G-strings for a prolonged period of time. So they recommend to never wear G-strings for more than 6 hours at a time, dispose of them after 4 months of use, and never sleep in them. Which is probably another good reason to sleep naked. And that is the history of the G-string. In an upcoming video, I will talk about the history of the panty raid. And in another video, we will talk about the origin of the word cleavage. So thanks for watching my video. Please rate it, and I will see you next time.
If you liked this video, we have hundreds of more alternative videos ranging from sexual health to psychology to mind control. So if you liked it, go ahead and click on me to enter the Psyche Truth channel.